You might believe it's the way he touches her lower back, or maybe the way he smiles without trying too hard. But you'd be wrong, because women don't give their bodies to what's obvious. They surrender to what makes them feel, and it starts with things you'd never notice unless you knew where to look. These are not tricks, they're truths, subtle signals, and when a man embodies them, she doesn't just want to be close, she wants to be taken, held, claimed, and seen. Let's explore the 10 subtle things that make women choose men with their whole being, not just with affection, but with surrender. 1. He notices the one thing she thought no one ever would. She's used to compliments that bounce off her like raindrops. Your eyes are beautiful. You're so smart. You look amazing tonight. But when he speaks, it cuts through the noise. He sees something she didn't even know she was showing. Something hidden, fragile, sacred. Maybe it's how she turns her head slightly when someone talks about betrayal. Maybe it's the quiet hesitation before she says what she really wants. Maybe it's the way her entire face lights up when she talks about someone she loves deeply. Whatever it is, he names it gently, clearly, without intention to impress. And when he does, she freezes, because in that moment, she realizes he was paying attention, real attention. The kind that feels like being touched with eyes. The kind that feels like he reached into her without even trying. That's when the first thread is woven. Thread of trust, of intrigue, of deep desire to know more. And just like that, her walls begin to shift. She doesn't just feel seen, she feels understood. And for a woman who's carried herself alone for too long, that understanding becomes intoxicating. 2. He slows down time when he's with her. He's not distracted, not scanning the room, not multitasking. His presence is like a still lake. Ripples just calm. When she speaks, he listens. He gives her his full attention like it's the most natural thing in the world. He lets her finish her thought. He holds space even when she pauses. He waits. He allows. In those moments, she doesn't have to edit herself. She doesn't have to shrink her voice or search for the right words. She just speaks, and he receives it all without judgment. There's something rare in a man who makes time expand around him, who isn't rushing to get to the next moment, who doesn't interrupt the rhythm of the moment with performance or impatience. And because he gives her that stillness, her nervous system begins to settle. She breathes deeper. She becomes more herself. And with that ease, intimacy grows. This is how physical closeness begins long before the first touch. It starts in the safety of his silence, in the softness of his gaze, in the quiet message, "I'm not going anywhere." 3. He's grounded in his own skin. You can feel it before he speaks. There's no tension in how he walks, no effort in how he sits, no strain in how he holds eye contact. He's not trying to impress. He's not scanning for approval. He's not asking the room for permission to exist. He simply is. Fully, calmly, unapologetic ally. This groundedness isn't arrogance, it's clarity. It's the result of knowing who he is, what he values, and what he won't tolerate. She senses it. She might not even have the words for it, but her body knows. Her body relaxes around it, because a grounded man is safe. Predictable in the best way, unmoved by chaos. And more than anything, a woman desires to be near a man who doesn't lose himself in her emotions, but doesn't run from them either. He holds his center, and from that center, he invites her to spiral, explore, release, and return. When he touches her, she feels the weight of that self-possession. When he kisses her, she melts into it, because his presence is not looking to take anything. It's just there, steady, strong, like home. 4. He mirrors her emotions without absorbing them. Most men retreat when she cries. They shut down when her voice rises. They try to fix what was never broken, but not him. He lets her feel. He lets the emotion come like a wave, and he doesn't flinch. He's not trying to make her okay so he can be comfortable. He holds the space while she storms. He listens while she aches. He watches without turning away, and yet, he doesn't absorb it. He doesn't make it his. He doesn't sink into her feelings as if they were his to carry. That balance is rare. That ability to be present without losing himself in her emotional current. She feels it. She trusts it. Because for once, she's not being told she's too emotional. She's being told, without words, that her emotions are welcome here. And with that invitation, her body opens, not to escape, not to numb, but to finally rest in the presence of a man who won't disappear when things get heavy. 5. He makes her laugh. When she least expects it, tits, not the kind of laughter that comes from jokes. It's the unexpected moment of relief in the middle of seriousness. It's the way he raises an eyebrow after she says something heavy. It's the way he finds playfulness in the middle of the storm. His humor is subtle, but it lands. Not because he's trying to be funny, but because he knows how to bring light without diminishing the dark. Laughter is vulnerability in disguise, and he uses it not to hide, but to gently lift the weight when she needs it most. This kind of humor opens doors. It softens resistance. It makes the body lean forward. She feels safe. She feels seen. And more than anything, she feels alive. This aliveness is what makes her body crave his. Not because of how he looks or what he says, but because when she's with him, she remembers joy. And joy creates desire that runs deeper than any technique or seduction. If you're ready to go deeper into your unconscious mind and understand what truly drives your relationships, I recommend exploring the JUNG method. The link is pinned in the top comment. 6. He lets her lead the tempo of intimacy. He never rushes her, not into connection, not into vulnerability, not into touch. While many men treat intimacy like a goal to achieve, he treats it like a rhythm to follow, like a dance where every step is sacred and every pause is meaningful. He doesn't just wait, he notices. He notices the way her breath changes when she's unsure. He notices the way her body leans in slightly when she's ready. And when she isn't, he never takes it personally. There is no pressure, no hints, no expectations, only presence, only patience. Because he understands that a woman opens, not when she is convinced, but when she feels safe. When she feels seen, not studied, desired, not hunted. In his presence, her nervous system learns that there is no danger in desire. That intimacy can be slow, soft, unfolding, and that is where the true magic lives. Not in speed, but in permission. Not in conquest, but in consent born from deep inner readiness. She remembers what it feels like to want without fear. And in that wanting, she becomes fully alive in his hands. 7. He doesn't try to control her emotions or opinions. She has met many men who fell in love with her as she was, but slowly tried to reshape her, to tame her passion, to soften her voice, to correct her truth. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't shrink at her fire. He doesn't try to dim her light. He stands there, fully in himself, and says, without words, I can handle you. He respects the moments she disagrees. He welcomes the edges of her personality that others called too much. He lets her be right, even when he's certain she's wrong, because he doesn't need to dominate her thoughts to feel strong. He doesn't argue for control. He listens to understand. He values her inner world as much as he treasures her outer one. This kind of man is rare, not because he lacks strength, but because his strength isn't threatened by hers, and that changes the entire dynamic. She no longer feels like she has to shrink to be loved. She can be her full, expressive, passionate self and still be embraced. In that embrace, her heart relaxes, her body follows, and the intimacy they create becomes something entirely different, something sacred, something real. 8. He creates moments that feel like memories before they end. He doesn't just exist in her life, he imprints on it. The way he plays a certain song while cooking with her, the way he turns mundane car rides into full conversations with no filter, the way he notices the light falling on her face at golden hour and pauses to watch. He's present in a way that leaves a mark, not because he's dramatic or overly romantic, but because he turns ordinary moments into something holy. He doesn't need grand gestures. He understands that intimacy is not built in the highlights, but in the details. She finds herself thinking of him when she passes that bookstore, when she hears that jazz song, when she sees someone laughing with their head thrown back, because he paid attention to those little things. He saw her, he shared with her, and most of all, he created space for their connection to breathe. She doesn't just miss his touch, she misses how time felt around him, like the world slowed down, and everything else faded, until it was just the two of them in a memory not yet made. This is how he stays in her body long after he's gone, not because of what they did, but because of how she felt in his presence. 9. He treats her sexuality as sacred, not strategic. Most men chase sex like a prize, a finish line, an ego boost, but he doesn't. He treats her body like a temple, not a battlefield. He doesn't touch her to get somewhere. He touches her to feel her, and more than that, he allows her to take up space in the moment, to move, breathe, speak, and even falls silent in her own rhythm. He watches her not like a man hungry to consume, but like an artist watching a masterpiece unfold. He doesn't ask her to perform. He doesn't follow a script. He doesn't try to impress. He simply meets her there, fully, with reverence, with warmth, with patience. She feels it in every kiss, that he is not trying to win her. He is trying to worship her, and in that space, she sheds the roles she learned to play. She stops being what she thinks he wants. She becomes what she is, raw, wild, gentle, powerful, all at once. And when she sees that he can hold that not just physically, but energetically, she gives herself without armor, not out of duty, but out of devotion. 10. He makes her feel that desire is a dialogue, not a demand. He doesn't assume. He doesn't push. He doesn't project. He listens to her voice, to her body, to the air between them. He reads her comfort not as a green light, but as an invitation, one that he continues to ask for, again and again, without entitlement, because to him, desire is not a transaction, it's a conversation, one filled with pauses, with mutual rhythm, with shared breath. He asks without words, is this still okay? Do you still feel safe? Do you still want this? And because of that, she doesn't just say yes, she feels it fully. And when she does, when every part of her is a willing yes, their connection becomes something unforgettable, not just because of the act, but because of the energetic clarity behind it. There is no confusion, no hesitation, only the merging of two beings who both chose it, freely and fully. That kind of intimacy stays in her body long after the night ends, because it was never just about pleasure, it was about power, shared, respected, felt. In the end, it isn't the grand gestures, it isn't the physical perfection, it isn't the perfect line at the perfect moment. She sleeps with the man who makes her feel like she can come home to herself in his presence, the one who holds her voice without correcting it, the one who listens with his whole nervous system, the one who touches her soul before he ever touches her skin, because that's the man who doesn't just want to enter her body, he wants to meet her in the space beyond words, the sacred space where intimacy becomes alchemy. She doesn't sleep with him because he's clever. She sleeps with him because her body, her mind, her heart, and her spirit all agree that he's the one, not forever, necessarily, not for always, but for this moment. He is the one who gets all of her, and that is the power of the subtle. That is the power of being deeply human and profoundly aware.